The silent arrival. The galaxy was never silent. Trade ships moved like blood in the veins of space. Fleets crossed between worlds, and the chatter of signals filled the void. Yet one night, a strange silence cut across the stars, a silence that frightened even the bravest captains. It began with a small listening station on the edge of the Orion border. The station was old, manned by tired workers who expected nothing but static. Suddenly, the screens lit up with a signal they had never seen before. Sharp, powerful and steady. The operator leaned closer, his hands shaking. "This is no normal transmission," he whispered. Within minutes, the news reached the local fleet commander, Admiral Threx, a proud reptilian officer who had crushed many pirate uprisings. He laughed at the report. "A single signal and you tremble like hatchlings," he mocked. But deep inside, even Threx felt a weight pressing on his chest. The signal did not fade. Instead, it grew stronger. It was not noise. It was a heartbeat, a steady rhythm pulsing through the darkness. The technicians ran checks again and again. All showed the same result. Something massive was moving in the void, and it was moving without any identification code. Soon, scout ships were sent, their tiny hulls darting across the dark sea of stars. They expected to find an asteroid, or maybe a broken derelict drifting from another war. But what they saw made their scales crawl. A ship, colossal in size, drifting silently. Its surface was black as night, absorbing the starlight. It gave no answer to scans, no signal of peace, no request for contact. It simply floated like a beast waiting in the deep. The scouts reported quickly, their voices full of fear. "It is human design, but not like any we have seen before. The markings are ancient, older than our council itself." The words sent ripples through the command halls. Aliens across the Orion sectors had long mocked humanity. Humans were weak, scattered, and divided after wars that stripped their colonies. They were seen as scavengers, living on scraps of forgotten empires. But now one warship stood before them, a warship no one could explain. Admiral Threx ordered his fleet to surround the vessel. Over 200 ships encircled it, their weapons primed. "If it is human, it is broken. Humans cannot build like this anymore," Threx declared. Though his claws tapped nervously on the table, the mysterious ship remained still, its engines cold, its guns silent. Yet every sensor showed a strange energy growing inside it, like a storm gathering under the sea. The crew of nearby ships felt uneasy. Some whispered that the vessel was alive, watching them. Then it happened. A light flickered across its hull, small lines of blue tracing symbols long forgotten. The warship was waking. A warning signal spread across every channel. But it was not in alien tongue. It was in human language, old and sharp. Translated quickly by the machines, it said only one sentence: "Leave this place or be erased." The council leaders were contacted, their chambers filled with angry voices. Some demanded the ship be destroyed. Others whispered fearfully about ancient legends of human weapons. Legends that said Earth once built ships that could crush whole armadas. But pride blinded them. Admiral Threx silenced the council chatter with a growl. "We are the galaxy's guardians. No forgotten relic will threaten us." His words echoed, and the order was given to prepare for fire. Still, some junior officers hesitated. One young pilot whispered to his commander, "Sir, if this ship is what they say, we may not survive." The commander slapped him silent. "Do not spread fear. No human relic can stand against us." Meanwhile, inside the mysterious warship, a single figure stirred from a deep sleep. A human, eyes opening slowly, staring at the control panels. His voice cracked with age and exhaustion. "After so long, you awaken me," he said softly to the ship. And the ship responded, with a hum, like a heartbeat. The alien fleets did not know this. They only saw silence, waiting. But in that silence was a storm older and more dangerous than anything they had ever faced. The warship shifted slightly, its dark hull reflecting the glow of distant stars. Weapons that looked like ancient scars began to move. Alien captains reported the movement in panic. "It is arming itself," they cried, but Admiral Threx laughed again. "Let it try. he growled. In the listening station, the old operator whispered again, his face pale. "This is no ordinary ship. This is a ghost of Earth, and ghosts do not sleep without reason." His words fell into silence as the countdown to battle began. The void grew tense. Fleets locked weapons, scanners, screamed warnings, and in the center of it all, the mysterious human warship stood alone, calm, silent, and waiting. No one knew that in just minutes the galaxy would remember why humanity was never meant to be underestimated. Fear in the council. The council chamber was never silent. Leaders of many species argued, their voices rising like storms. Yet on this day a strange fear hung over them. Reports of the mysterious human warship played on screens. The image of its dark hull glowing with faint blue lines chilled even the bravest among them. Counselor Valen, a tall insectoid with shining wings, slammed his claws against the table. "It is only a relic, old human junk drifting through space. We should destroy it at once," he said. But his trembling wings betrayed his fear. Another voice, low and cautious, spoke from the shadows. "Counselor Dren of the avian kind. Relic or not, our fleets have surrounded it, yet it does not move, it does not plead, it does not surrender. It only waits." His eyes narrowed. "And waiting is the weapon of predators." Whispers spread. Some recalled ancient stories long forgotten by most of the galaxy. Tales that spoke of Earth's hidden weapons. Weapons built not for defense but for revenge. Many laughed at those tales in the past, calling them myths, but now the myths stood before them in cold silence. Admiral Threx appeared on the council's main screen, his voice loud and proud. "I have it surrounded. 200 ships ready. Their cannons aimed. We will crush this so-called ghost in a single strike," he said, though his eyes flickered with unease. But deep inside the council chamber, doubt was growing. Counselor Dren leaned forward. "If this ship is what legends speak of, then 200 ships may not be enough. You risk more than victory. You risk awakening a storm." His words spread unease. Still, pride ruled stronger than fear. Phelan raised his claw again. "Humans are scattered scavengers. They lost their colonies. They beg for scraps. Do not tell me a broken species can field such power." His voice was sharp, but his body twitched as if he wanted to believe his own lie. At that moment the chamber darkened. The mysterious warship's transmission played again. A single human voice repeating, "Leave this place, or be erased." The voice was calm, not shouting, not pleading, but filled with unshakable certainty. The counselors froze. Even the translators could not soften the weight of the words. It was not a threat. It was a statement of truth. Some demanded retreat. Others demanded destruction. Yet none dared to suggest peace. Fear of losing face among other species was stronger than the instinct for survival. Meanwhile, aboard nearby fleets, nervous officers watched the ship's energy grow. Sensors screamed warnings, but Admiral Threx ignored them. "Charge all weapons, prepare to fire. On my command, we show the galaxy that humans remain nothing," he roared. In the shadows of the warship, the lone human sat before glowing panels, his fingers brushing ancient controls, his eyes heavy with memory, he whispered. "So the council still mocks. They never learn, they never remember." The ship answered with a low hum, its systems awakening further. Inside the council chamber, Counselor Dren pressed his feathers flat, his voice trembling now. "Do you not feel it? The silence, the heartbeat. This is no derelict. It is alive, alive with human will." But his warning was lost under the council's pride. Orders were sealed. The attack would begin at dawn cycle. Fleets would unleash everything, believing numbers alone would bring victory. But fear did not vanish. It grew like a shadow in their hearts. Captains whispered to each other. Young soldiers stared at the dark vessel on their screens, and in every whisper one question remained. What if the legends are true? The mysterious ship shifted slightly, its hull gleaming faintly, and the galaxy shivered as if the stars themselves held their breath. The council ended the meeting with prideful cheers, pretending courage. But when the chamber emptied, silence lingered, the kind of silence that carried doom. Out in the void, the warship pulsed once more. The voice echoed again. "Leave or be erased." And this time the words felt heavier. Almost final, Admiral Threx smirked on his command deck. Then erased we shall be, he growled. But it will be your kind, not mine. His ships prepared to strike, but even he felt the unease of facing something beyond his understanding. The Council had chosen pride over wisdom, and now the galaxy would pay the price. The first strike. The alien fleets floated like a shining wall around the mysterious warship. 200 ships armed and waiting, engines burned bright, weapons charged, and yet none dared to fire first. The silence of the human vessel pressed against their hearts like a heavy weight. Admiral Threx stood tall on his command deck, his claws tapping impatiently. Enough of this waiting, he growled. On my mark, fire a test volley, let us see if this ghost bleeds. His officers hesitated, but his glare forced obedience. Dozens of ships aimed their cannons. Beams of light and plasma tore through the void, smashing into the warship's black hull. Explosions rippled. Flames spread across its surface, and for a moment the fleets cheered. But the cheers died quickly. The flames faded as if swallowed. The hull was untouched. Not even a scar remained. The mysterious ship had absorbed the attack. Like water falling into the ocean, whispers spread across the alien channels. Impossible. No armor can do that. What are we facing? Panic filled their voices, and fear began to crack their pride. Inside the warship, the lone human sat in silence. The control panels glowed around him, his eyes calm, his hands steady. They have chosen. He whispered. Then so must I. The ship responded with a pulse of light, systems awakening like a beast stretching after endless sleep. Outside, the alien sensors screamed warnings. Power levels inside the human ship spiked far beyond measure. Weapons unfolded from its sides. Ancient cannons that looked more like scars than machines. Blue lines burned brighter across its hull. Then it fired. One single volley, one blinding strike, faster than thought. Beams of pure energy ripped through the fleets. Entire squadrons vanished in an instant. Shields crumbled like paper. Hulls shattered into dust. In seconds, 50 ships were gone. Erased without sound, without mercy. The remaining fleets screamed in terror. Captains shouted orders. Scatter, evade, regroup. But chaos spread faster than commands. Some tried to run, others fired wildly. Their weapons bounced harmlessly against the warship's hull. Admiral Threx roared in fury. Hold your lines, it is only one ship. One ship cannot defeat us. All but even his voice trembled. The mysterious warship moved now, drifting slowly forward, its presence crushing. Every step it took felt like doom approaching. The human voice echoed once more across every channel, calm and steady. Leave, or be erased. But it was too late. The alien fleets tried to surround it again, but with each pulse of its weapons, more ships were erased. It did not fire wildly. It fired with precision, each strike finding a target, each strike leaving nothing but wreckage. Within minutes, the void was filled with burning debris, drifting bodies, and silence. Inside the council chambers, panic erupted. Leaders shouted at one another. How many ships lost? What weapon is this? Why did we not retreat? The answers were drowned by fear. No one had expected this. No one believed humans could hold such power. Back on the battlefield, Admiral Threx gripped his chair, his pride now broken by terror. This is no relic, he whispered. This is death itself. His officers looked at him with wide eyes, waiting for orders, but he had none. The warship slowed, its cannons folding back into silence, its blue lines fading dim, yet its presence still crushed the void. It could have destroyed them all, yet it stopped, leaving survivors trembling. The lone human inside closed his eyes, whispering, "The warning is given. Those who forget will remember." The ship hummed, in agreement, its systems falling back into waiting silence. For now the battle ended, but the galaxy knew this was only the beginning. Legends were no longer stories. They had become reality. The first strike had awakened fear across the stars, and every world would soon whisper the same name in terror: humanity. Shadows of the past. The battlefield was silent now. Wreckage floated in endless space. Broken ships drifted like corpses in a dark sea, and survivors whispered prayers in fear. Yet the mysterious human warship did not chase them. It only watched, its glowing blue lines fading into shadows. Inside the council chambers, Chaos spread like fire. Messages arrived from every sector. Fleets demanded answers. Worlds demanded protection, and leaders shouted in anger. What is this ship? Where did it come from? How can humans possess such power? But no one had an answer. Counselor Dren, the avian elder, stood. With trembling wings, his voice quiet but sharp. We ignored the legends, but they were warnings. Humanity once built weapons beyond measure. Weapons meant not for conquest, but for survival. What we face now is no accident. It is destiny. Many mocked him. Old stories, myths, they said, but none could deny the evidence. 50 ships erased in minutes, an entire armada broken by a single vessel, far away, inside the warship. The lone human touched the cold panels, his eyes heavy with memory, his voice soft. You kept your promise, old friend. The ship hummed low, almost like a reply. The man closed his eyes, and memories surged back. Centuries ago, Earth was not weak. Earth was not scattered. Humans once stood proud among the stars. They fought wars against empires greater than any, and they built ships unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Not many, only a few, each forged with the pain of survival, each bound to human will. This warship was one of them, forged in silence, hidden in the shadows of forgotten space, left sleeping until humanity faced extinction again. The pilot was no ordinary man. He was the last of a bloodline sworn to guard the vessel. His ancestors had passed the duty from father to child across centuries, waiting for the moment when the galaxy's pride would once again threaten humanity. His name had been forgotten by the galaxy, but the ship remembered. The codes of his family still flowed in its systems, their voices recorded, their orders preserved. Protect humanity, remind the stars who we are. The Council knew nothing of this. They thought humans were broken, scavengers, weak wanderers with no true home. They did not know Earth's silence was not weakness, it was patience. Back on the battlefield, survivors whispered to each other, some in fear, some in awe. It did not kill us all. One captain said, perhaps it shows mercy. Another shook his head. No, this is not mercy. This is warning. We were spared so we may tell the tale. And tales spread quickly across trade routes, across colonies. Every whisper carried the same story. A human warship, a ghost from the past, destroyed fleets in minutes. Soon taverns, markets, and academies repeated the same words. Legends. Reborn inside the council chamber, Counselor Valon, the insectoid, hissed with rage. We cannot allow this. If humans truly hold such weapons, they will rise again. They will challenge us. But even his voice shook with fear. Counselor Dren bowed his head, his feathers dark. Perhaps they do not seek conquest. Perhaps they only remind us, but if we do not listen, we may all be erased. Meanwhile, the warship rested in silence, drifting slowly back into the shadows of the void. But its presence was far from over. The lone human whispered to himself, they will come again. Pride will blind them. And when they do, we will answer. His hand pressed against the console and the ship glowed faintly as if agreeing. The galaxy thought humans were forgotten. But now the shadows of the past had returned, and with them came fear. A fear that spread faster than fire, a fear that no council decree could erase. For the stars now carried a new truth. Humanity's silence had never meant weakness. It meant waiting, and the wait was over. Total annihilation. The council chambers shook with fury. After the first battle, fear spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Trade routes froze, colonies whispered in panic, and every world demanded answers. Leaders shouted, we must end this threat now before it spreads. Admiral Threx, his pride bruised but not broken, stood before the council. It is one ship, one ancient relic. We lost because of hesitation. But now we gather our full strength, an armada of thousands. No single vessel can withstand that. His voice roared with false confidence. Many nodded, clinging to hope, but Counselor Dren whispered, hope built on arrogance is still a lie. His words were ignored. Orders spread through the stars, fleets rallied, carriers, destroyers, and dreadnoughts all called to one place. Never before had such a massive force been gathered, over 3,000 1,000 warships, enough to burn a world into ash. Alien soldiers cheered, captains shouted speeches of victory. But deep inside their eyes, doubt lingered. They had seen the wreckage, they had heard the whispers, and they knew legends were no longer myths. The armada arrived at the edge of the Orion border. The mysterious warship still drifted there, silent and calm as if mocking them. Admiral Threx raised his claw. Today we erase this ghost, and we erase the humans who dare rise again. His words echoed across the channels, his fleets aligned, into deadly formation. But inside the warship, the lone human sat quietly, his eyes closed, his voice soft. So it begins, he whispered. The storm they asked for. The ship pulsed with blue light, its systems awakening fully. Alien scanners screamed as impossible readings poured in. The ship's energy spiked far beyond what their machines could measure. This cannot be, captains cried. No vessel holds this much power. But the readings did not lie. Then the warship moved, faster than their eyes could track. Its cannons unfolded like wings of fire, and the void itself seemed to shiver. The first strike came. A wave of gravitational cannons tore through space, pulling ships into each other, crushing hulls like paper. Hundreds of vessels vanished in seconds, their remains spinning helplessly in silence. Before the fleets could regroup, the warship released swarms of nanite clouds, silver storms that devoured metal, shields cracked, engines failed, ships dissolved into dust. Cries of terror filled the channels. We cannot stop it. It is everywhere, Admiral Threx shouted. Hold formation, fight back. But his voice was drowned by the chaos. Plasma beams, missiles, and torpedoes poured against the warship, yet none pierced its armor. Every strike melted into nothing. Then the warship unleashed its pulse storm, a shockwave of raw energy that rippled across the battlefield, turning weapons dead, shutting down entire fleets in a breath. Ships drifted powerless, waiting for death. The human inside spoke softly. You chose this. You ignored the warning. His hands pressed against the console, and the ship answered with another storm. In minutes, thousands of ships were gone, erased from the sky. The greatest armada the galaxy had ever gathered was nothing but wreckage. Admiral Threx watched in horror, his proud heart breaking. This is impossible, he whispered, his claws shaking. For the first time he saw truth, not myth, not rumor, but truth. The council chambers erupted with silence as reports came in. 3,000 ships gone, an entire armada lost. Leaders sat, frozen, unable to speak. Councillor Dren finally broke the silence, his voice trembling. We were warned. We were told. And now the galaxy is broken because we would not listen. Out in the void, the warship stood alone among the wreckage, glowing faintly with blue light, its voice echoing once more. Calm and cold, Earth remembers. The survivors scattered, running like insects from fire. None dared to face it again. None dared to answer. The legend was now carved in steel and ash. Humanity was no longer silent. Humanity was no longer weak. One warship had turned the greatest armada in the galaxy into dust, and the stars themselves seemed to bow in fear. The reckoning. The galaxy was no longer the same. The wreckage of 3,000 ships drifted like a graveyard across the Orion border. Survivors whispered in broken voices, their channels filled with cries of fear. One ship, it was only one ship, they repeated, as if saying it again would make it less true. In the council chambers, silence reigned. Never before had so many. Leaders sat without speaking. Screens showed the endless debris field. The loss was beyond numbers, fleets gone, empires shaken, pride shattered. Finally, Councillor Valon broke the silence, his insectoid claws trembling. We must unite, we must strike again with even greater numbers, we cannot let humans rise. But his voice cracked, and even he knew his words were hollow. Councillor Dren stood, slowly, his feathers heavy with sorrow. Strike again, he whispered, and we will only feed the fire, do you not see? This warship is not a weapon of conquest. It is a judge. It warned us. We ignored, and now we pay. The chamber erupted. With arguments, some screamed for revenge. Others begged for peace, yet none could agree. Fear split them more than any enemy ever had. Across the stars, the legend spread on mining colonies. Workers told the story in hushed voices. On trade ships, pilots swore they had seen the wreckage. Themselves, in academies, students repeated the warning like scripture. Leave or be erased. Soon the words carried a new name, whispered by every tongue. Earth remembers. It became not just a warning, but a curse, a shadow over every proud species. Meanwhile, the mysterious warship drifted in silence, its blue glow fading, watching the galaxy's chaos from afar. Inside, the lone human sat still, his voice calm. They fear now, but fear alone is not enough. They must understand, the ship answered with a low hum. Messages from surviving captains reached the council, broken voices filled with terror. We fired everything. Nothing worked. Shields failed. Engines failed. Even our strongest dreadnoughts fell in minutes. It is not a ship. It is death itself. Their words spread like poison through the chambers. For the first time, the galaxy felt small. All their fleets, all their empires, all their pride. Nothing stood before a single human vessel. Admiral Threx, once loud with arrogance, now sat in silence, his eyes hollow, his claws shaking. He whispered to himself, "I saw it, I commanded the armada, and I watched it all vanish. No empire can stand against such power." His voice was broken, no longer the voice of a warrior, but of a man who had seen the end. Counselor Dren spoke again, his tone sharper now. "We must decide. Will we seek war, or will we seek peace? Because if we choose war again, we will not survive." His words cut through the noise. Many leaders lowered their heads, but pride still lingered. Some species demanded revenge, their voices hot with shame. "If we bow to humans, we lose everything," they cried. But deep down, even they knew the truth. They had already lost. The mysterious warship moved slightly, sending one final signal across the council's channels, the human voice steady, clear and calm. "We are not your enemies, but we are not your slaves. Test us again and the stars will burn." The message shook them. It was not the voice of conquest, but of warning. Yet the weight of it was heavier than any threat. In taverns and marketplaces, common people began to speak differently, some with fear, others with respect. "Perhaps humans deserve their place," one miner said. "Perhaps they were silent because they were watching," another whispered. Across the galaxy, stories spread like wildfire. No one mocked humanity. Anymore, no one dared. Even children learned the tale, drawing ships with glowing blue lines, calling them the ghost of Earth. The reckoning had begun, not with conquest, not with chains, but with memory. Humanity had reminded the galaxy who they were, and the galaxy could never forget again. The legend begins. The galaxy did not sleep. Every star system carried the same story. Every channel repeated the same words. One human warship destroyed an armada. And though the details shifted with each retelling, the fear remained the same. Merchants whispered it while trading. Soldiers muttered it before sleep. Even children played games pretending to command the ghost ship. Everywhere the name of humanity spread, no longer weak, no longer broken, but dangerous. Inside the council chambers, silence reigned heavier than ever. Leaders once proud now spoke in cautious tones. "We cannot face them again," one admitted. "If more of those ships exist, the galaxy is already lost," another whispered. No one dared to laugh at humanity now. Counselor Dren spread his wings slowly, his eyes sharp. "Perhaps this is not our end, but our chance. If humans can destroy us, then they can also protect us, but only if we treat them with respect." His words fell like a stone in still water, ripples spreading through the chamber. Some agreed, desperate for peace. Others still burned with pride, but even they dared not suggest another attack. The memory of the destroyed armada was too fresh, too heavy. Meanwhile, the mysterious warship drifted into the void, its engines glowing, faintly, its blue lines dimming like fading stars. Inside, the lone human sat in silence, his eyes tired, his voice soft. "The message is delivered. They will not forget." The ship hummed in response, as if alive, as if sharing his thoughts. Together they turned deeper into the dark, away from the council's eyes, away from the wreckage, leaving only silence behind. Survivors from the battle became unwilling storytellers, their faces pale, their voices broken. "I saw it," one captain said. "Its weapons moved like storms, precise, merciless, unstoppable." Another whispered, "It spoke to us, it warned us, and we did not listen." These voices spread faster than fleets could fly. The galaxy began to change, slowly but surely. Respect grew where mockery once lived. Fear replaced arrogance. No species dared to call humanity weak again. No species dared to mock Earth's silence. Legends took shape. Some said the warship was the last of its kind. Others claimed hundreds more slept in hidden places, waiting for the call. Stories mixed with fear, but none doubted the truth. On distant colonies, murals were painted of a black ship with glowing blue veins. People called it the Guardian. Others named it the Ghost of Earth, and in some places it was even worshipped like a god. The council tried to silence the tales, tried to control the fear, but the more they fought, the faster the story spread. No one believed their denials because the wreckage of 3,000 ships still floated in space, proof that the legend was real. Admiral Threx, broken and ashamed, resigned his post, his voice hollow. "I mocked. Them I led my fleets to ruin. I saw the truth and I will never forget." His words were recorded, played across channels, adding fuel to the fire. The lone human drifting through the void looked out into the endless stars, his voice steady. "They will remember now, but this is only the beginning." His hand rested on the console. One ship was enough to remind them, but if Earth rises again, the galaxy will tremble. The warship pulsed once more, then slipped into the deep black, vanishing from every sensor, leaving nothing but fear. And so the legend began. Parents told their children, "Never mock a human, never test their silence, for behind it waits a storm." Traders swore oaths to never cross human space, and soldiers trained not to fight humans but to avoid them. Across the galaxy, the name of humanity carried new weight. A single warship had changed everything. A single voice had rewritten history. The galaxy now lived with a shadow, not of conquest, not of chains, but of memory. And that memory whispered through the stars, louder than fleets, sharper than weapons. Earth remembers.